Welcome to this monthly program that is keeping you connected to what's happening in the Northwest Local School District. Today we have in our studio Northwest Local Superintendent Daryl Yater, and we also have Treasurer Amy Wells. Thank you so much for coming in. And we have a lot to talk about the facilities master plan. There's a lot of details and things that are coming up, and it's time to get some updates.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
Thank you for coming in. Let's get started. So Northwest Local School District started having conversations again this September with the stakeholders about your 2014 master facility plan. Tell us about the history of this facility plan and how the work is continuing in 2022.
So the district always has a facility plan that we're implementing. And in 2014, we updated that to really incorporate what was going on with the community and their vision for where they thought the community was going educationally. And that 2014 plan is actually what was used when we built our 3 new elementaries with Struble, Taylor, and Pleasant Run Elementary. And since then, we've continued to engage the community to update that plan again to make sure that as we look at the facilities that are in those buildings, that we can take that experience for kids educationally and replicate that across the district and create that equity for all of our kids to have similar comparable experiences from an educational perspective. And so we were able to engage our community again and update that plan with where they saw the rest of the district going, and then continuing as we move forward. Again, we will continue to engage our community to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our community where they are and where they see this going for the next 50 years.
That's so important because sometimes people will see 2014 facility plan and wonder, gee, so many things have changed. Is this still what we need? So the fact that you're continuing to engage the community on that. Yes, we've done some of these things already. What next do we need to look at in this plan? As this plan is slowly coming to fruition, stakeholders might ask, so why now? And what would you say to them?
So we have a current need. Our buildings are aging, some of them close to 100 years old, and we have a unique opportunity where we can take advantage of credits that we earned in phase 1 that Daryl was referring to and achieve this vision that we're working towards. Our strategic plan, one of the pillars of our strategic plan is financial stability. And so as part of financial stability, we're aligning our resources with our instructional priorities, and we're also looking to make sure that we're addressing the significant needs of our buildings. We have $47 million in deferred maintenance that we are not addressing, and so similar to like if you had a car from the 1970s that needed a motor, and we could either borrow the funds to put the motor in the car and not have anything else, so next week when the transmission goes, we wouldn't be able to fix it, or we could continue with the vision in our plan and maybe have a new car that could keep up with the needs of today.
That's a really relatable analogy because we have all had a vehicle that we had to make that decision if do we put more money into this vehicle, or will it actually be more cost effective for us to get a more up-to-date, more efficient? Is it going to cost us more because we have to get vintage 1970s engines now and all of that? So, that applies to buildings. If you get a boiler that replaces a 1960s boiler, is that going to be the most efficient one fuel-wise to operate? So I don't know if that's the sort of product that you'd be looking at, but it's a very relatable analogy for that. The work behind the 2014 plan isn't the districts alone. It also includes the want and visions of the surrounding community. Tell us how, Daryl, you engage the community in developing this plan.
So every time we update our master facility plan, we actually bring in groups of community members, parents, students, staff members to form committees to really go through a process with us where they analyze the current educational needs, the current facilities, the gap that we might have, and project out futuristically where we should be and what we need in order from a facility in order to do the kind of education that would be most appropriate. And so we use a process like that with a lot of our different initiatives to make sure that we're hearing from all of our stakeholders and that their voices are in the plan that we develop. And so this current revision that we did, there was a community advisory team that was really looking in depth at the facility needs. And we had an educational visioning team that was really looking at the future of education and really juxtaposing what kinds of educational experiences our kids need to be most prepared for the job force of the future. And then those teams came together and compared notes to really make sure that our facilities represented the educational environments that we needed in order to prepare our kids most effectively for the future.
And that's really important because that's a service. Of course, that's a service to your students. Now they're more employable, and you can say, hey, look, parents, we're going to help your kids be more employable. But it's a service to the community because business owners are saying, we can't find someone trained to do this job. And you're saying, great, we see that need, and we can serve the community as well as our students in that. I love that. The community recently made a recommendation to the board regarding this updated vision of the 2014 plan. Tell me about that vision and how that vision appears to be the best decision regarding your facility needs.
So it was fantastic to have community members and parents who were at our board meeting presenting to our Board of Education about this process they went through and the recommendation that they were making to the board about the future of the district. And a lot of it had to do with 21st century learning. And I know that buzzword can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for us, when we think about the jobs that our kids are going to hold when they graduate from us, our primary grade students, the majority of them will matriculate into jobs that haven't even been developed yet. So for us to be able to project that far out the needs that our students have is really that long-range vision of creating that equitable workforce in the future so our students are prepared for any job that might be available at that time, which requires a different kind of education, a different kind of skill set than we might have done in the past. And so with that, we have to look at how do we use our resources most effectively and efficiently to do that. And our community really came together, and their plan that they presented really looks at, right now we have 3 brand new elementaries, but we still have Colerain Elementary and Montford Heights. And so they really wanted to address this sense of equity, that right now our elementary students don't have an equitable educational experience because the facilities create a barrier for them. And so really in phase 2, addressing Colerain L and Montford Heights. So in that plan, we would be replacing the Montford Heights building, or the Colerain Elementary building, renovating the Montford Heights building, and then really looking at that K-8 continuum. And right now we have 3 middle schools. And if we were to, and in the plan, the community recommended we go to 2 middle schools, that would create greater efficiencies for us from a transportation perspective, from a food service, from administration. So it really, in terms of a feeder program that would allow all of our students to matriculate through a consistent feeder program from an elementary to a middle to a high without diverting into a separate kind of secondary pathway. And that was really important to our community, that we honor that clean feeder program. And so all of those different components really came together in that plan for our community. The high schools would be phase 3, and we would actually go back to our community before we implement a phase 3 to really dig deep into this vision of what high school should look like, that last kind of step before students go into the workforce for either employment, enlistment, or enrollment in a post-secondary option, and make sure that our high schools are able to represent all of the different options that might be presented to a kid, and that they would be prepared for whatever pathway they chose.
Now, how does this plan tie into the district's vision around the strategic plan and into the learning experiences that students currently have or could have if the 2014 master facility is actualized?
So the realization of these plans really are interlocked. So if you think about puzzle pieces, our portrait of a graduate, our strategic plan, and our master facility plan all come together and coalesce into a unified plan. And so we went through an engagement process similar to our master facility plan with our portrait of a graduate to really take our strategic plan that has 5 key areas: academic achievement, where all kids will achieve at their highest possible level; social emotional learning, that we actually don't just teach content to kids, but we actually prepare kids to learn; our DEI work, diversity, equity, and inclusivity, that we make sure that we honor the cultures of the students and the families who are in front of us, that we create an inclusive environment where they are welcomed, feel like they belong, and have equitable opportunities, and that we have a fiscally responsible plan that will be able to be sustained over time, built all on a culture of trust where we have two-way communication and we're transparent with our community. All of that was part of our foundation for how we then engaged the community on our portrait of a graduate. And we had committees of parents and students telling us what they wanted the competencies of our graduates to be. We engaged our business leaders to say, what do you need in your employees when you hire someone? And so our portrait of a graduate competencies complement all of those skills that are necessary in that strategic plan. And the master facility plan creates the environments where all of those things can happen most effectively, most efficiently, and really benefit the community and the students with the outcomes.
So it's important to see that when we're talking about buildings and structures, that is tied into what you can do academically and curriculum-wise. And Amy, I'm going to ask you, as some of your buildings approach 100 years old, as you mentioned, what have you and the community identified as some of your current building needs?
Well, in order for our students to be able to have the experiences and achieve the skills that Daryl's been referring to, our buildings need to be able to, like technology. When our buildings were built, whether it was 100 years ago or even in the 70s, computers, the internet and the projectors on the boards and all the technologies our staff uses to help teach and educate our students didn't exist. So having facilities that can accommodate all of that, as well as handicap accessibility and our $47 million in deferred maintenance that we need to address one way or another, is a high priority for the district.
Absolutely.
And our buildings really are part of our instructional plan, and the flexibility that a building offers creates opportunities for teachers and kids and staff to have different kinds of experience than what you would normally think of in a traditional setting where there are classrooms where kids are just moving between classrooms, instead of having the flexibility for a small group space, for a maker space where they can work on projects and really do hands-on kinds of activities that are real world based.
So as people continue to engage with the work around this master facility plan that is tied into what they can do, what do you hope that they will know and take away from this?
We have had so much engagement with community members to help inform our different plans. And I really hope that our community understands that all of these plans are not separate, but they are integrated into a single vision that will move our district forward, that will benefit not just our kids and our families, but our communities because of the kinds of educational experiences we offer, the kinds of preparation we have for our graduates, and the opportunities that they will have when they leave us to open any door that they want to walk through.
And I want to take a minute to say that we have just touched the tip of the iceberg of what kind of content is in these plans. And, you've addressed that they're tied together, that they don't really stand alone, that they work to enhance each other's abilities in the different plans and the different parts of what you've done the work with the community to plan for. We're not going to try to cover in detail. This is a short program to just get people connected. But you have it all on your website.
Yes, if people are looking for more information, the website is a great place to start. And so if they go to our district website, nwlsd.org, there's a button they can click for Building an Equitable Future. And all of our plans are laid out there for our master facility. Our portrait of a graduate is on there. And obviously, anyone has the ability to call. They can reach out to a building leader. They can reach out to me. We are always willing to engage and explain and help people get excited about the vision of our district and where we're going.
So I want to thank you for coming in, because this is part of making sure the community is aware of what's going on, and the importance the district has in staying connected. I'm going to exhort those watching and listening to this, stay connected, make it one of the missions that you have to keep plugged into this website, keep plugged into the Facebook page when there's new announcements and things that are happening. I know that it's
Twitter, Facebook, website, it's all there.
all of that's there. So that's something that you are saying, we're here, stay connected to us. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.